Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. Happy Monday.
Yeah, man.
What's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
Living the dream, buddy. Glad y'all made it back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was a good weekend. I finally got to fish. I've been watching tournaments for a month, and I finally got to participate. So it was a good time.
You remember what it was like?
I remember what it was like, man. Even I think I told you before we came on, thanks to shoddy cell service for some of the leaders, I got to hover in the top 10 for a couple of days. So
I was trying to keep up with it, man. We had a tournament on Gunnersville, a little local joint, and I was trying to go back and forth and keep an eye on you and Marshall and Russ and see how it all kind of played out there.
Yeah, I threw a jackhammer, dude. Couldn't get the big in.
Yes.
Get the big in the fire. I didn't catch any on it, so I just
That's all you're supposed to do.
I just threw it. Threw a little bit of everything, tried to catch a big one, but it was a fun time. You know, Broken Bow did its thing. It got hit with a cold front like every other tournament this year, but people still figure out how to catch them, especially the two guys we're going to have on tonight. We got Rus Snyders and Justin Brewer coming on. Everybody knows Russ. He's nationally known, and everybody should get to know Justin because he fishes our local club here. He's our defending AOI, and you know, if he gets out and travels more, he'll become a household name too, I bet. But yeah, man.
I feel like we'd have Russ on here like every other month if we just brought him on.
Yeah. I think we could put a little window in the corner with just Russ on hold, like on retainer, like a lawyer for interviews.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I got a little. I don't call it a rant. I want to go on before we get them on though. Something
proceed.
I didn't even tell you about this, but I got to experience this. I got to experience this for the first time this weekend in this tournament. There was a bass boat, a couple of them, a high school tournament, and then some club tournaments or something that going on at the same time on Broken Bow. And I know that Live Scope has been around for a few years now, but with Garmin and stuff, but it's really expanded with different brands and the technology's gotten better. So now this is the first time I've been on the water with a big tournament going on with almost every boat I ran into having it. Mm-hmm. And it's a problem. And it's a problem. And I don't mean a problem from, I don't blame the anglers. I mean, the technology's there and they can, you got to use what you got to use. If that's what you want to use, that's fine. But I swear every boat I ran into, it was like teenagers texting and walking on a high school campus. Nobody looked up. There was a guy that literally almost ran into me while I was sitting on a hump while he was zigzagging with his trolling motor throwing an A-rig. And I literally yelled at him, "Hey, you going to look up long enough to see me there, buddy?" And just kind of laughed it off because it was in practice. But it's an issue, man. And I don't know where that's going, but it makes fishing really weird to look at, to watch those guys do that.
I mean, I don't think it's going to get any better. I think you're just even, kayaks, like you're going to see more and more and more guys just staring at a screen all day instead of, the water.
I don't know. I mean, and like I said, I don't blame the anglers because it's a tool available, and if it's available and within the rules, you stretch that to the best of your ability. And I think Luke Arian, he was an early adopter to this, and I know he's good with electronics, and I think it played a key role in him in this tournament. So I'm not blaming anybody for using the stuff. It's just weird how it affects some guys because the guys I saw using it didn't look like they knew what they were doing. They were just zigzagging around, slinging it left, slinging it right, jigging a rig up and down like a spoon. I mean, it was just kind of goofy. I think it's going to make some guys worse anglers. You think that's possible?
Yes. A lot of guys, I mean, I know a lot of people that really rely on their electronics and don't catch shit because they just run around the lake staring at the screen all day. Like a lot of times if you just turn it off and fish, you'll catch some. You don't necessarily have to make eye contact with them to get them to bite. That's a common misperception in kayak fishing.
Yeah, it was very strange. And to add the final deal to that is I didn't see any of the guys I saw zigzag and catch any. And I know that Luke hammered him. So if he was using that, hats off to you, because I know that he is very familiar and knows how to use it. So it's a good tool in the right hands. But I just thought, man, if that's the future of fishing, with people just staring at that everywhere, something needs to be done. I don't know what that thing is, but it's just
you saw it on Bass Live. I mean that, and MLF too. I mean that's what it was for a lot of those guys, was just staring at the floor all day, throwing a jerk bait or whatever.
And like I said, if it's allowed, I don't blame them, because it obviously works if you know.
Do you think it should be allowed? Let's transition into another topic there. Do you think it should be allowed? I mean, what's your opinion on it?
I mean, I don't know if I listen to Randy Blockett some. He's an old guy on YouTube that does a lot of cool, simple videos with his phone, and he had a couple rants on this. And he's like, if that's allowed, why can't you, we'll say in a bass boat tournament, push your boat through a creek, or in a kayak tournament, portage? Why can't you do all these, primitive things, but you can look at them on a computer screen,
or cameras, underwater cameras, I don't know. I guess there may be.
I don't know, because obviously you've won a couple of the biggest tournaments, the biggest tournament last year, without even having electronics rolling pretty much. So obviously it's not magic, but
there's a time where there's a time of year, especially when fish are deep, or suspended, where electronics is, probably the most useful tool that you could pull out. But a lot of times, especially down south here, you're going to find shallow fish or fish in grass, like pretty much, 10 months out of the year. They're not always out deep. Now, summertime, you still have some shallow fish, but you're targeting bigger schools if you're really trying to put up a big bag. Then you kind of have to have electronics. But for the most part, I don't like having to rely on that myself.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I don't know if they'll make rules on that at the elite series level. Probably not, since they sponsor people. But
yeah, money, dog. They ain't making any rules.
It's just kind of a weird thing to see when the first time seeing it in person with that many boats using it. It was just not a good look. I didn't like it. But anyway, I digress. Get off my soapbox on that.
All right.
But yeah, what do you say? Want to get these guys on here and talk about what they did? It's going to be interesting, because if I had the doc talk right, they fished on opposite ends of the lake doing opposite things. So it'll be cool to hear them break it down. So take a little break. We'll be right back with Russ and Justin. KBN Live is brought to you by Western Sun Vodka. Western Sun Vodka is a 10 times distilled, award-winning, gluten-free vodka. They are independently owned and crafted in Pilot Point, Texas. All right, we're back. Hey, proud to welcome again Rus Snyders back to the podcast, and for the first time, Justin Brewer. Probably not the last time though. So thanks, gentlemen, for sliding on in here and taking time to visit with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah, man. Are you guys both at Fork now or heading that way? I know, Russ, you're down there already.
At Fork. Yeah.
I will not be. I'm doing the same thing I did for Broken Bow, heading down Friday, but early Friday morning, so I can may have some time on the water. So.
All right, we're gonna get into that, because that's a pretty cool story on your end of things. But yeah, let's get into it. I was at the tournament. Weather kind of played a factor as that cold front came through and made the bite tough for several people, but you guys both obviously figured it out. Russ, how long were you down there? You down there a few days?
Got there Tuesday night. We ended up camping out with some of my buddies, with Cody, Adam, Josh, and Matt. We all camped out there at the Beaver Bend State Park and started fishing Wednesday.
Nice. So you had a few days of practice, and then Justin, what happened with you? You rolled in when?
I actually worked Friday and left a little bit early and drove down Friday evening, just in time to register and get in the hotel and pretty much go to sleep, eat and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Had you fished it before? Had you fished Broken Bow before?
Never seen a lake before.
Just went in blind and said, all right, this is it.
I was hoping it was going to set up similar to some lakes around here, and it kind of sort of did in a way.
Yeah. What did it remind you of? Did it remind you of Beaver Lake a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the super muddy water.
Yeah, you have to go way south to get that on Beaver Lake.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Russ, you fished. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you fished down south in the clear water. Is that right?
Yep. Now,
Yeah,
pretty close.
Pretty close to the dam.
Yep.
You say pretty close to the dam. Okay, you're kind of breaking up there. So yeah,
Hear me all right?
yeah, I can hear you okay now. Maybe that Lake Fork internet. We tried a podcast from there before. It was pretty interesting. Remember that?
I remember that one. That was you and Dwayne, wasn't it?
That was a disaster. That was me on my laptop in Tiffany's.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, but break down what you found on the south end that made you stay down there in that clear water, Russ.
Pre-fish Friday, Monday, upriver by Laurel.
Uh-oh.
We're having some audio issues with you, Russ.
Put him.
All right. So I'm gonna put Russ on pause. Let's go to you, Justin. You said you showed up blind, and you chose to go way up the river in the muddy water. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. I'm not a clear water guy, so I picked kind of more midways up the lake, where I guess it's probably more up the river at Holly Creek, and hoping for some stain in the water. But come Saturday morning, that some was little to no visibility at all. So I just had to wing it and go with it and retie all my rods.
Yeah. So Ryan, a funny story. The guy that I stayed in the cabin with, Kyle Long, he said he had a mishap on the first day of the tournament. He left his board at the cabin, so he had to drive all the way back. And in the midst of him scrambling around to look for one, he saw Justin, just while everybody took off and was heading to fish, was sitting there in the parking lot retying everything. Is that right, Justin?
Yeah. Yep. Trying to regroup before I got on the water.
I like it. I like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
You guys hear me all right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Is it? All right, great. Put my headphones in.
Yep.
Yeah. So Justin was up in that muddy water. Russ, we were asking you about that, what you found down there in the south end in that clear water.
Yeah, like I said, I've spent a few days fishing each part of the lake, upriver, down by the dam, and then mid-lake. I guess it's just the fact that I got the most bites, I guess, down by the dam in that creek. Found a little bit of a pattern. It was surprising, to see how few boats, because there's only 6 or 7 access points in the whole entire lake. And Wednesday and Thursday, I think I only saw a couple people each day, which was kind of surprising. And hardly any bass boats, but come the weekend, it seemed like everybody showed up, kayaks and bass boats. But yeah, the creek wasn't very big, and caught a few fish there, and the pattern pretty much held over. I think it was I went there Thursday, and it was pretty much blue, clear bluebird skies. And then Friday we had a little bit of a storm come in. That was the day I spent up by Laurel. Did get a couple big fish there, but only got 4 fish all day up in that muddy water. So just, because I got more bites down by that creek, by the dam, fish there, and was getting them on a crankbait in the morning. And then, most of the rest of the day I was throwing an Alabama rig. And that bite would pick up, a little after noon.
Crazy. And what was the water temp down there where you were, Russ?
Main lake, the mouth of the creek, it was like 50, 51. It seemed like a lot of the main lake. And as you get back into the creeks and the pockets, it warm up a bit. Warmest water I found on Saturday was 60 degrees. And then those same areas on tournament day got up to about 56, 57. And you'd find some water in between, that in between 50 and 57.
And the reports I were hearing up the river, Justin, is it was a lot, even early in the morning, was a lot warmer up in that muddy water up in the river. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it started about, I wouldn't say a lot. He said it started 50, 51 by the dam, but it was 51, 52 early in the morning. And then I touched 60 degrees Saturday, just barely touched it. And then it didn't get out of over 57 all day Sunday.
So are you fishing current up in the muddy water, or
No, I went back. I was in the river and I went back up way up a creek, and I found pretty much the last deeper channel banks that I could find, and that's kind of where my fish were at. There was the banks were flatter, and then it would go into the drop off of the channel swing, and I just could fish either those flat banks or deeper on the channel banks, and that's where the fish were at. They were either pulled up or they were sitting on the bottom in the channel.
were you covering a lot of water, or was it more kind of one spot?
Two, probably 200-yard stretches, each of them, and I just kind of would go down with one spinnerbait, come back up with the other one, and do the same on the other one, then go back and just kept rotating between the two, and there'd be one fish that seemed like pulled up on one of those spots every pass.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's what I was banking on, and it did.
What about you, Russ? Were you on a spot, or were you covering water in an area?
I was covering a lot of water, just running a pattern. It seemed like the creek kind of faces north south, so there's tons of little secondary points and pockets that come out. And in the morning, one side would have some shade and one side would have some sun, and the wind was, I think, blowing out of the south, so it was the sunny side was getting the wind blowing in it a little, and the shady side was calm. And I think it seemed like they were feeding on crawdads. I was throwing a red DT6, and they were just on the back sides of those points right there in the first maybe 100 or 200 feet of the points, as long as they had some chunk rock or some of the points were a little gravelly, some were a little more mud or clay. But as long as I had some chunk rock, something for that crankbait to kind of dig into deflect off the rocks and stuff like that. And the first hour or two, they'd be sitting up shallow, anywhere from like 3 to 6 feet of water. And once I kind of found out where they were positioned, I wouldn't fish the stuff in between. There was just a lot of little points in there. So I just tried to hit as many of those spots as I could and just bounced around from one side of the creek to the other and covered a lot of water. And first day that bite lasted probably about 2 hours. Second day it only lasted about an hour, if that, maybe really just the first like 20-30 minutes. The first spot I hit, I got that's the cool thing about that lake too, is all three species, has healthy populations of spotted bass, smallmouth, and largemouth. I caught some big spots out there. Pre-fishing, I got a big smallmouth, and during the tournament I got a couple big largemouth. But that second day, in 20 minutes, I got a smallmouth, a largemouth, and a spot, all off the same little 20-yard stretch. But I tried to run that pattern around. It wouldn't work out that second day. I came back around with an A-rig in that one spot where I started the morning and caught a 5-pounder that second day, big kicker, and caught a good one on an A-rig. Actually, both days my big kicker came on an A-rig. But during pre-fish and during the first day of the tournament, that A-rig bite really turned on when the water heated up a bit, around 12:30, 1 o'clock. The second day, it didn't really happen. Actually, I got on to him a little bit, flipping some wood, but the problem was those laydowns were only like every quarter mile or so. There'd be a laydown, and only a few of them had fish. If I had a bass boat, it would have been a good time to have a bass boat, because I would have just bounced around hitting all those laydowns. Because that A-rig bite died and crankbait bite died. That was about the only thing I had going, and I think I caught 3 fish doing that in pretty much the second half of the day.
Russ is right about it being diverse with the multi-species. I caught all 3 in my limit on Sunday, except they were all small. But I was still happy to catch them all.
It definitely looked like a tough day too. You saw from the leaderboard on day one, you kept kind of waiting on everybody to catch up, so to speak, and a lot of guys just didn't recover, didn't have enough fish for the two day run there. What changed so much between day 1 and day 2?
Well, they had 4 bass boat tournaments out of all over the lake too. I think maybe, I don't even know if there was a tournament on Sunday. There was like maybe that spot I was at, there was probably at least 15 kayakers. It's about a mile and a half, creek both sides. There's 15 kayakers and probably 8 boats.
Wow.
The second day there was, I think, only 1 boat all day and like 5 kayakers, but I think the pressure already got to those fish. So
Justin, did any of them when I crossed? So in order for me, I'm kind of have anxiety fishing around people, so I crossed the main lake and went just about 4.5 miles one way to an area to fish away from everyone, but some of the bass boats ran over there. But on my trek, when all those tournaments started on Saturday, I saw them all just hightailing it north up the river. So did you get covered up there, or did they kind of spread out and not get to you?
They kind of spread out for the most part. Saturday, and none of them were doing what I was doing. They all kind of set off and was fishing the timber out off the bank a ways. But I maybe saw 6 or 7 bass boats in the cove that I was in all day Saturday, and I only saw 1 on Sunday and only 1 kayaker on Sunday. So I didn't get too much pressure where I was at. I don't know if they kept going further up, because I know the water cleared up the further you went. So I don't know if they just all took. I heard a bunch of them running. I just couldn't see the main lake. So I know they went by. I just never saw a whole bunch of them.
Trying to pull up some pics here. Yeah, I was trying to pull up one of Russ's fish. You can see it out the side of his kayak. The water was crystal clear down there where he was, and then that big fish pic of Justin's, it looks like chocolate milk. So it's almost like y'all were fishing 2 different lakes.
Yeah, it's cool having different water colors around different parts of the lake, just so you can kind of suit your fish your style that way too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Clifton Allen says Russ is like Allen Iverson. I didn't know Iverson fished. I don't know. What's your you fish for it quite a bit. What's your feeling going into that one, Russ? You excited? You think you're about to go back to back on the road?
We'll see. Well, I was out with Matt. Matt got out for a little bit. I had to sit and make a bunch of phone calls and get back to a bunch of messages and all that. And while I'm just sitting there, where we put in, he's a couple 100 yards away. He hooked up with like an 8-pounder and a 6-pounder, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta. So I got
he wasn't laying out on the front of the boat again, was he?
No, not that time. But
not yet.
Yeah, he was fumbling around. I think he got something caught in his net, and I could hear him screaming all the way out there.
Say that again.
Oh boy.
He was excited. Someone got caught in his net, a lure or something. I don't know. He was excited.
I swore he said he got something.
It was a giant. He paddled back, and we got a picture of it. So it looks like it's going off. Josh Stewart's up here, and I heard he got a couple 7s already today, and just getting out there half a day. So the weather's lining up. It's gonna go off this week.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's a big warming trend here too. I'm hoping it turns these smallmouth on around here if I'm lucky.
Yeah, all over the south, especially with that cold weather. It's finally getting out of that little funk that they were in with all that ice and that shitty weather. And it's gonna be a fun month coming up.
We had a local club tournament on Gunnersville this weekend. The bite was pretty tough for a lot of us, but this kid Joe Kirk, he came down and fished with us. He hadn't really fished with us much ever before, and I'm like, I update Tourney X, like I'm looking at like 10 o'clock, and he has like 62 inches. 3-fish tournament. Well, he called 2 more times. He ended up with like 65.75 on 3 fish at Gunnersville. Wow. He's like, yeah, I never really fished down here. Yeah, him and his buddies, they all sat on that same school and just freaking stroked them all day Saturday. It was awful.
They're using all that live scope and all that for you, or how they?
I don't know if he was live scoping them. I know Brad Golden was. Brad and his dad Terry just went down to the dugout and picked up 2 completely tricked out 360s, live scope, Torpedo, marine mat, yak power, and a brand new on the water Innovations trailer. Like, I mean,
it's amazing how well they set those up. I saw,
a lot of kids' Christmas got spent right there. That was they're set. They're set. But Brad and Terry both came down and cashed checks Saturday in those brand new boats. So must be doing something right.
Hey, did you guys hear my rant on live scope before you
Yeah,
came
I
on.
was listening.
Did y'all see any of that? Did y'all see any of that on the Broken Boat? Because everybody I ran into was just doing donuts with their live scopes and their trolling motors.
A couple of the bass boats, but
that's what I mean. The bass
not
boats.
where I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I only saw one boat doing that, but like I said, it was super muddy. So I don't know if what the technique for that wasn't really a player where I was at, but there was one boat trying it.
Yeah. Either you guys got your eye on live scope?
No, I'm not much of a offshore guy as it is, anyways. So I don't think it would benefit
mess me up.
Yeah.
I'm worried I'm going to get too distracted and just not be present enough to. I don't know, but there's going to be advantage. There's times where it'd be an advantage. For sure, it's just knowing when to utilize it and when to turn it off. It's like it's like fishing the spawn. There's you could either sometimes see the fish and fish that way, but sometimes it's easier just to have muddy water so you can't see them, and because it's the same type of thing. Just knowing when to look at them and when to not look at it.
Yeah, it was bizarre to watch. I can tell you that it bothered me that's how people are going to fish now, but I guess it shouldn't. People to each his own.
Cody said where he was fishing around the bank, and he said first morning of the tournament there was like 15 boats all out in just the middle, and these treetops out in the middle, and they're all just looking down, running into each other. Just it was a total shit show. And he said by 10 o'clock none of them were catching anything. They all gave up and started beating the bank.
Like if you know what you're doing with it, it's a weapon. Because I think, like I said, the third place finisher Luke was doing some deep water stuff with it, and but he's got it tuned in, and I've know that he is adapted and educated on how to use that stuff. So it's a weapon if you know how to use it. But it feels like people are just going to buy that stuff and feel like they can buy skill, and that really is not how it works. But
Ewing, the kid that got second at Watts Bar and cashed a check at Seminole, that's what he was doing in both those tournaments. I mean, he's got it dialed in, like he spots those fish and he'll throw out a jerk bait and literally watch how that fish reacts to the jerk bait and adjusts his retrieve and gets the fish to hit. So, I mean, that kind of stuff, suspended fish, tough bite, I think that definitely would play into it,
Yeah.
I know the crappie tournaments have already gotten rid of it. A lot of them, the high level crappie tournaments.
No kidding.
So I don't know, what will happen in bass boat world, but it could, I'll be interested to see if any rules change or get modified.
I don't care either way. If they said no electronics, period, I wouldn't be mad. Like whatever. Like let's go fishing. Like I don't necessarily think you have to buy into the technology part to be able to catch a fish.
I'm like Justin. I like fishing shallow anyway, so maybe it'll keep people from doing that.
That's what I was thinking.
Leave the shallow fishing alone.
Yep. I hope it does. Take some pressure off of them.
Shallow's the new deep. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
No comment.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle Long threw a little comment up. Like I said before we came on, everybody knows Russ. Russ, you made a name for yourself, well deserved. But Kyle, my cabin mate for the weekend, had a good time. Kyle, our wives were there too, so don't worry, boys. He said the NSK 2020 AOY on the podcast tonight. Y'all going to see a lot of him around in the future. He's bragging on you, Justin, and rightly so. Justin is our AOY in the club that I founded here in Northwest Arkansas, but he's kind of rose up around here and then has branched out regionally. And it seemed like in the last 2 years, you really found your stride. You went out to Moyak, won some KBF trail stuff. I mean, everywhere you've gone regionally, you've either come in first or second, it seemed like in the last 2 years. So tell people a little bit about yourself and how you kind of came up kayak fishing.
So I started just like everybody else did in the paddle kayak. I think this is my 4th year doing it now, fishing with the NSK club. After last year being able to win AOY, I kind of got to help build my confidence a lot. So this year I want to try to do a little more traveling and hit some more national events to see kind of how I could compete in the bigger series. And with this one, it's a good start. Being the first tournament of the season is a good way to start the season off, and then hopefully I can carry it over to Lake Fork this weekend and maybe just keep that ball rolling from last year.
What all big tournaments do you have on your schedule this year?
I don't really have anything. I just kind of keep an eye on everything coming up and then see see what all I can hit. So I got Lake Fork. I'd like to try to make Sam Rayburn, and then of course now the Tournament Champions on Eufaula. I'm going to go to that one, and then just kind of whatever else comes up that's not just a haul like so far away. But
it's kind of like his pre-fishing, Ryan. He's going to show up last minute and cash a check.
I mean, I love it. That's a beautiful story.
It'd be nice if it worked every time. It doesn't work every time. Sometimes it'll hurt you, but more times than not, for me, it's actually benefited me, and not, being able to just go out there and just go fish and figure them out than being, I don't know where I want to go. Because day 2 this weekend, being I only caught 5 fish on day 1, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I go back there and chance it, or do I go to the Clearwater and hope for the best. But I took a chance, and it paid off, luckily. So,
are you going to win Dardanelle? Yes or no? Right now, I need to know.
I've never had a good tournament on Dardanelle, so
yes.
I would hope so, but past tournaments don't show it.
Is the winner of Dardanelle in one of these 4 squares right now? That's the real question.
Russ almost pulled it off last year, so I don't think he'd be stretching it at wherever you said the lake was. I don't think he'd be stretching it there. But
right, I know.
That's excited for that.
Will Russ finish in the top 5? Yes.
We'll see.
What have you got on the schedule, Russ? What have you? If you had to pick your top 3, like most anticipated tournaments for the rest of the year, what have you got?
Dardanelle was the one I'm probably looking forward to the most, to be honest, just because it's,
you hear that, Ryan?
It's getting there last year.
I did hear it, Jeff. I said I was coming, man. Chill.
It's, yeah, it's a cool lake. There's just a lot of areas you can access with a kayak that you can't get to in a bass boat. And I think it's, the timing last year, we didn't really maximize those. What am I saying? All those backwater areas just weren't really going off at that time. A little bit, but it's going to have a lot more potential come in April when they're all back there spawning, and it should be a really fun one. It's just all shallow flipping, power fishing. It should be right up my alley as far as that goes.
Wait.
But this one will be fun. We got Pickwick coming up. I think I'm gonna do Hartwell. Not really looking forward to that one as much. Doesn't really.
Why not?
Hartwell, I don't know. It doesn't. It's a more like spotted bass, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really do good on spotted bass lakes as much.
Spots will eat anything, though. You just got to figure out how to get it remotely in the area, and they'll come eat it. That's my favorite thing about spots is they're stupid, but you have to figure out where they're at because they're kind of weird.
Yeah, it's tough. It'll be post spawn, and I don't know. It'll be I think that's a Hobie too, right? It's just tough. I don't have a pedal drive, so I'm out here. This one too, I had to paddle the whole time.
I've got a guy's number down in Marietta. I'll give it to you. You give him a call. He'll get you in a pedal drive immediately.
Just tell AJ to deduct it. Tell him to deduct it from the check and just send you a boat and half the check.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen.
That's like a bad deal.
Yeah.
Been trying to work something out with a company, but it's with all just everything right now with everything's back ordered, and there's just a lot of
You just got to blame it on COVID, man. You just have to blame it on COVID. It's COVID's
fault.
We just kind of glossed over that, but that's another paddle kayaker winning one of these big tournaments.
Yeah, it's not another one. It's the same one.
Well, Drew.
It's the same guy that keeps doing it.
We had Drew. I guess Adam didn't win, but he came close. We've had several of these paddle guys.
Certain times it's an advantage to have a paddle kayak. I believe if you're in a big grass flats or backwaters or whatever. This was a lake where it definitely was not an advantage because you're just out there in the open, and especially if you're trying to cover water and throw a crankbait or Alabama rig, the wind's blowing. It's I probably got half the casts in.
That does not sound fun. Fishing the wind with a crankbait in a paddle kayak. That just doesn't sound like a good time.
I was fishing into the wind too. They wouldn't bite, drifting with it. So I had to make a cast, retrieve it in, get a few paddle strokes in, make another cast. It was just that pretty much all day long. On Sunday, luckily the first day it wasn't blowing as hard. So
you worked for that one.
No, Justin, what rig are you fishing out of? You still fishing out of a PA?
Got to work out at least. Got some exercise.
Yep, still the I think it's a 2016 model PA. It's done me good. No, I don't see no need to upgrade yet, but it's getting close. I've about worn it out, so it's getting close to having to make an upgrade.
Yeah, you got the money for it now. You don't have to blink.
That's what the guys at work were saying. They're like, "Well, you got to check. You might as well just take that straight and go get a boat." I was like,
blow it immediately. That's what you're supposed to do if you win anything.
Put the fishing money towards fishing.
Yep,
that's right. Then Uncle Sam can't touch it. Isn't that the trick, Ryan?
That is a trick. I got a long list of receipts I just sent over to the CPA.
That's it. Anybody out there watching got any questions for these guys? We had somebody from YouTube, Mark Cawthorn, wanted to know where you guys live. I don't know if he wants your specific address because he wants to stalk you. He doesn't have a profile picture, but he maybe just what state or where you call home.
I live in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah,
and I'm Lincoln, Arkansas.
Lincoln Lake. What happened to Lincoln Lake? I don't ever hear about anybody catching the big ones out there anymore.
I think it was the pressure. They just got too much pressure, and I don't think I went there at all last year. I just kind of
it's probably COVID.
COVID, 100%. All 15 people in Lincoln got it and ruined the fishing out there. No, I'm just kidding you, Justin.
There's more than 15 people out there. It got super busy a couple years ago, so I kind of laid off of it, and hopefully it gets back to how it used to be.
What's your favorite lake in Arkansas?
Ooh. That's a tough one now.
Yeah, me either.
Ryan's is Ouachita. I bet Justin didn't choose that.
No, I'm not choosing Ouachita.
Me either. Mine was the mud puddle in the parts store where I had to buy 2 batteries when I was at Ouachita. That was my favorite lake out there.
Beaver treated me well last year, as much as everybody doesn't like Beaver. It did me really good last year. So based off that, I've got to say Beaver Lake. But any other year before that, I would have said Lincoln Lake. It's got some good fish, but it's just too much pressure. It's got it really tough. It's hard to catch the big fish like you used to.
Heck yeah. Kyle Long said Bull Shoals. You fish Bull, Justin?
I fished it for the state championship that we had 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
2 years ago. That was the only time I ever fished Bull Shoals.
Yeah.
Table Rock. If one of these Ozark lakes, I'd pick Table Rock for my favorite Ozark lake.
Gotcha.
I know it's
What's
Missouri,
your favorite lake, Russ? Out of anywhere. You travel all over the place. California to Tennessee. What's your favorite lake?
Darnell.
I don't know. California Clear Lake is, probably one of my favorite out in California, but it is so small and you fish it enough times and it's like, man, there's just no secrets there at all. It's small. It's a small lake. Kind of like Lake Fork's that way too, where it's like similar to Lake Fork, where it has big fish, giant bags, and they crushed them out there. I heard there was a tournament with like 60 boats out on Clear Lake and 5 guys got over 30-pound bags. Like my buddy had 20 pounds and he was like 3/4 of the way down the list. So it was showing out this past weekend, I guess. But that's probably one of my favorite out here. There's a lot of cool spots on the Tennessee River. I like. Yeah, just all the backwaters. I don't know. It depends on if you're fishing out of a kayak, I guess, or a bass boat. Because Clear Lake for a kayak, I wouldn't consider it one of my favorite lakes at all, I guess. Just because you can't really get away and it's so crowded. But Dardanelle is a cool lake. Last year, I really liked going there and exploring that. I know it doesn't pull out the bags like some of the Tennessee River lakes or Clear Lake does, but just the terrain and just the backwaters and all the places to explore. It just feels like a pretty wild place too.
I'm excited to see it. Definitely want to check it out.
A lot of people bragged on Dardanelle as mainly, not like you said, it doesn't turn out the big bags, but the kayak access. There's so many random spots to get off and get into the lake that kayakers really seem to brag on that after the event.
I liked it.
We got a question from Facebook for you, Russ.
Yeah.
Mark Springer, what do you credit your consistency to?
Just work ethic, working hard, being organized, being prepared, and at the same time not overdoing it too, like knowing when to take a break. I didn't do what tournament was that? The freezing one that you won, Ryan.
God, Watts
Bar. Yeah, Watts Bar. I took a break. I skipped Watts Bar and I skipped.
It's the best move you ever made, skipping that, man.
I feel like that way. Yeah.
You were in California then, weren't you?
Yeah. I was in California. I didn't get to see my family, over the holidays and stuff. I wasn't able to make it out there, so I made a trip out and just took a little break and. I had plenty of opportunities to do fishing out there, but I try to tell myself in between the tournaments, just not to fish. And the whole month before I went to Florida too, I think I went a month and a half or so, and I didn't do any fishing then. And just having, kind of doing that, it just allows me to go into these tournaments like wanting to, missing fishing and wanting to get back out there and just kind of being hungry for it. So I think that there's a lot to be said for that too. So I know when I just do week after week after week, if you do too much, and
you get burnout.
Yeah, you can get burnout. So just balancing that, I think, plays a big part.
What's your prep? What's your prep schedule? Like, how much time do you spend studying maps or Google Earth, and then how much time do you actually spend on the water? The week or 2 weeks before the tournament. Like, what's your average? What do you like? What are you comfortable with?
I spend, just depending on how much time, I guess I'll spend several hours, however long it takes to kind of find at least all the boat ramps and all the access points and just going through Google Earth. And a lot of times I'll have my fish finder right next to me on Google Earth. So if the lake levels are down, I'll start marking some stuff that I see that's exposed. If I know the water is going to be back up, I'll put those marks on my fish finder just so I have a few key points to kind of run to and check out. And a lot of my prep too is just get all the tackle ready. Each time I load my truck, I'm only I have to unload and reload, and each lake's different. So I got all my tackle and all my stuff pretty organized where I can not spend a lot of wasted time kind of digging through things. I know where everything's at, and I know a pretty good idea of what I want to bring. And so yeah, I guess that plays a big part. And then just being able to, eat. A lot of times I'll cook all my own food. I got my truck set up so I can sleep in here. I have a refrigerator. I have it set up so I can be pretty self-sufficient, and just doing a lot of meal prep and having a whole refrigerator here full of food. And that way I don't go to, local Mexican joint and get some surprises the next day where I'm sitting on the toilet half the day, or who knows, I've had
in the
stuff
drive
like that
hole
happen too, just where, if I make my own food, I know I'm going to feel good through the day. I know I'm not going to, my stomach's going to be messed up or I don't know. I just like everything consistent where I don't not have to worry about things.
I just like to feel like I can't eat the whole day on the water. That way I don't have anything to worry about. I just feel so sick I can't
yeah, I saw you and Cody frying up some fish on Instagram or something.
That
did y'all catch that right there, or did you bring it with you?
Yeah, on the lake. We said we talked about it this morning because a couple of them caught walleye. I'm like, hey, you guys got to keep some of those things. We'll fry them up. We're camping. Keep a few. I was even thinking about keeping a couple little spotted bass too. Probably would have got a lot of shit for it, but I don't know. Those clear lakes, they taste all right.
Won't nobody complain if you keep a spotted bass, I guarantee it.
You never know. Get their
skewer them.
But they caught some walleye. I think all of them. Josh caught like a big walleye. Adam caught like two or three walleye and a couple crappie. And Scotch caught a walleye. So I didn't contribute anything except
some grease.
Cooked it for her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it was good. Those walleye, man, are tough to beat. Crappie are all right, but those walleye that's some of the best fish I ever had, in my opinion.
So the third place finisher threw a question in here. Luke Arian. Justin, did you used to paddle a Ride 115?
No, I paddled the Ascend from Bass Pro.
That's right, Ascend. Okay, so what would you say is the biggest advantage for an angler, pedals or electronics? Luke asks.
I'm gonna go pedal. You can just, if you have to cover water, you can cover so much more water with the pedal, and it's easier. Like with what Russ was doing, fishing into the wind with the crankbait. It's just it makes kayak fishing so much easier. I think we can, a lot of times you can compete in tournaments without electronics because there's just so many months out of the year there's fish living shallow, so they can always be found shallow, but you can't always pedal or paddle a kayak very, very easy and efficiently, especially on 2-day or even 3-day tournaments. I mean, you wear yourself out. So I think a pedal drive kayak's the bigger advantage.
Yeah. What you think, Russ?
Yeah, no, I'd have to. Depends on the situation, I guess, and where you're fishing. Certain area, if you're fishing offshore, yeah, it just depends on where you're at. There's some areas where having a paddle kayak would be an advantage if you're in some skinny backwater or big grass flats or stuff like that. And there's other times where if you're fishing out on the main lake and the wind's blowing, it's a huge advantage. You can't even. It's almost impossible to fish with a paddle kayak. I guess same thing goes for electronics. There's tournaments that if you're in a certain area on a certain pattern, if you don't have electronics, you're pretty much you got no chance. And there's other times where you're fishing an area where you can just visually look at everything. Just hitting targets, and you don't even need to use a fish finder. It wouldn't make one difference. Like frog fishing, doing some frog fishing in mats or something like that. You obviously don't need electronics for that. So it just all depends on the conditions and where you're fishing, I guess.
Ryan, did you see the? Oh, sorry, Russ. I was gonna say, Ryan, did you see the hardest hitting question of the night from Jim?
No, I didn't.
Throw it up here.
I've actually been. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been on the stream page, kind of engaged, and not
paying attention to comments.
So, yeah, I'm so sorry. Sean Accord said, "Ryan, please stop stealing my questions." And apparently, he was trying to ask, like your tourney prep and map study. So my bad.
I'll put Jim's comment, which means Jim must be apparently out of jail if he's able to comment. So, this is I don't know which one of you this is for, but this is from Jim. You can read it. I'm not going to read it to you.
Oh God.
Where do you bathe?
I think this was definitely for Russ, I'm assuming, who's in his truck right now.
Well, we stayed at a campground this last time, but there are plenty times where I just jump into a lake with a bar of soap, or
You're
I'll even
kidding.
Get back. No, why not?
We're getting the juice.
I would love to roll up on that happening. Is that freaking Russ?
There's been times at the boat ramp. I get back to the boat ramp, and people are like taking out their boats, and I'm just like, mostly in the summertime, I'll just walk down there with a bar of soap. I'm like, excuse me, guys. Everybody's just looking at me. I'm like, hey, whatever.
Are you wearing like swim trunks or something? Or are you just going down full bore, ready to rock?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's up? What's up, guys?
I had a problem with the cops. They came, and I had to. Yeah. Anyway, that was a long story, but.
So everyone's just learning the real juice on how to. You got to get in the lake and get at one with the.
He's one with the fish. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Wow. Okay, that's more information. I was hoping we'd get like secret baits, but we got even deeper information.
I feel like there's a DNR case going to get opened up now after we went down this road.
The water was cold at Broken Bow, Rush. You didn't pull that there, did you?
No, we had a campground. Right. There's been times, it's been like 50 degrees in November. It was like 4 days without a shower. I hate sleeping without getting clean. There's something about it. I'm like, I don't care how I have to do it, but I got to clean the sweat off of me, man. I sleep better.
You're a survivor, Russ. You're a survivor.
I don't know what this means. Todd Patrick says anyone that needs showers, he has over 15 at any given time for free. I don't know what that means.
I think he must have like special trucker tokens or something.
Ah, okay.
Those are expensive. They're like $10 or something. Like
he's keeping.
Ask Siddiqui. Siddiqui showers at truck stops all over the country. That's his favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
really?
Todd had me worried for a minute, but now that makes sense.
Lot lizards for days.
Yeah. Okay.
They got those road showers. I think I'm thinking about getting one of those Yakima road showers. Hook it up to the rack up on the top there, but I don't know.
I've seen some of those little like heated type camp shower. Like a little bag of water, and it heat the water, and you can clean off that way.
I got some gimmicky one off of some Facebook ad. It's like the rinse kit or something like that. But
yeah.
Thing looks like a pile of crap. So I've just left it at home. I haven't used it yet. There's a little thing you like plug into your cigarette lighter, but it's all super cheap. The handle's all cheap and like plastic. It's just gonna freaking break like the second time I use it, and it's kind of big and bulky. So I just leave it. Jump in the lake.
Good stuff. We're off the fishing now and on to personal hygiene. I love it.
You got
any
it
more
off
questions?
Statements or what? I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or him giving Siddiqui and Cody showers makes me kind of cringe.
He's freaking me out. Let's get back to the fishing talk.
Weird.
Let's get back.
What are your personal hygiene habits?
Who are you asking?
Well, hell, anybody that wants to answer right now, I guess. We covered Russ.
I get a hotel room. I like to have a hot shower in the bed.
Well, okay. All right.
Amen. I made a little funny joke on KBN on, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday, about checking into my campground, which was a very expensive cabin. We were living the plush life. But anyway.
You had the missus with you. You had to go
right.
5-star.
That's right. We had the Ashleys. Kyle and my wife both named Ashley, so we had the Ashleys with us.
No tents. No tents for those ladies.
No. Not me either. I'm not camping anymore. Too old.
Man, it was cold
Too old
for
for
the rest
that.
of those guys. I was nice, man. I had one of my most recent purchases was a heated electric blanket that I plug into my inverter with the the Dakota Lithiums are running that, and it was like 30 degrees out. Everybody else is asleep. Adam was going to sleep in a hammock, and he's like, "Oh man, I can't." Yeah, so they all piled in this big tent, and a couple of them froze their asses off a little bit, and I had to turn the heat down in mine. I was like, "Man, it's getting hot." So that electric blanket's nice.
We had a question for Justin. I want to share the screen though, because one thing we didn't say when we introduced you guys, obviously you finished the first and second, but Justin, you won big bass of the event.
Yep.
And this is a picture of your big fish right here. So you want to break down how you caught that thing, man?
Yeah, it's actually got a pretty good story. So there was probably the most predominant tree that was falling over on the bank that I've been fishing, where I caught most of my fish. I caught a 17, my second 17 of the day one off of it, flipping a jig. And day two, I kept wanting to catch a fish. I hit it, and I actually hit it the first pass and hooked one, took me into the tree and popped the spinnerbait out of its mouth. So I was like, well, there must be fish pulling up on it. So I fished it over and over again. And finally, my last pass, before I was going to head back to the truck, I probably made 4 casts to one side, floated over to the other side, made 2 casts. And on that third cast, I guess, I don't know if I just went right in front of her face or what, but that third cast, she bit it. And earlier in the day, I had lost what I feel like was a decent fish. I think maybe a 17. It came up to the top and rolled. And as I went to net it came off. And I wouldn't let that one happen to this one. So I really didn't even know how big it was. I hooked it, a couple cranks, she boiled. I had the net in my hand, lifted the rod, netted her, and then she started flopping. I was like, that's a good one. And so I took my time and tried to get the best picture, and it was worth it.
Yeah, man. Was that on spinnerbait?
It was on spinnerbait, yep.
All right. Somebody asked, let's see. Yeah, Chris Metcalf asked how you work that spinnerbait.
So I actually brought the 2 spinnerbaits I was fishing with in here to show you guys. So I fished the Big Covert series. I threw this one early in the morning, but as you can see right there, the paint is worn off the bottom of both of these heads.
There you go.
I had to creep that just slow enough to where it would still spin the blades and stay upright, but it was nicking rocks the whole time. I mean, I had to just crank it and make sure I was filling rocks to get those bites. But if I was doing that, that's what the fish were wanting. So,
what kind of trailer? What kind of trailer is that?
It's a Yum swimming dinger. It's their stick bait. It's the swimming version of that, but it puts off a lot of thump. So that's what I like to use. And I actually, the one with the 2 Colorados had 2 gold Colorados on it to begin with, and I caught a fish, and I ended up catching a fish on one with a silver willow leaf, and I was like, well, let me think of something. So I took this one and took a silver Colorado off one of my other spinnerbaits and put it on here, and when I went and made that last pass, that's what that big one came on. So I don't know if it was the color combination or if I just pulled it right in front of her. I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, it worked. So.
You tweaking all kinds of stuff out there on the water, huh?
They were eating spinnerbait, so I wanted to find anything. I had 3 or 4 tied on and a chatterbait because I just wanted different variations every time I made a pass to give them something different. That's kind of what I felt like was going to work. So that's what I was trying to do, give them something different every time.
You weren't wrong on that, clearly.
I think it's 2 weeks in a row. Wasn't Cody dragging the spinnerbait deep up there on Lake Murray?
1 ounce or something, he said. Yeah. I could tape 2 of my spinnerbaits together and I wouldn't get there.
These Arkansas boys and their spinnerbaits doing their thing.
I reckon. Cody wrecks them about everywhere on a spinnerbait, though. I mean, pretty much any time I've ran into him on the water, he's throwing a spinnerbait. So I think he's pretty at home with his spinnerbait collection.
Yeah, my buddy Kyle was up there. He said there was a decent spinnerbait bite if you could get in front of him. I ran into Jeremy Mitchell in practice. He said there was a decent spinnerbait bite up the river too. So obviously you figured out just the right combo and the right areas to throw that thing.
Yeah, and I just that dirty of water. That's the only thing I felt like I had the best chance of getting a fish to react to it. I mean, it's so dirty. I tried to throw a crankbait a little bit. I had one fish hit it, and it pulled me into a tree and got off. But I just felt like that's the best option, so I just kind of stuck with it.
You see that comment, Russ?
Yeah, we said that before we got on air.
Yeah, he looked like the Blair Witch Project when he got on here.
He did. He is kind of giving us some creepy
We're telling
stories.
Some ghost stories around the campfire last week. We had some good ones.
He kind of told us a little story with the naked boat ramp bathing. So it's close enough.
That was scary for me just to hear it.
Yeah.
TOC.
Yeah.
You gotta bathe and you follow. That's what's got to happen now. Yes.
Is that cold? That's cold.
You follow? No, you follow be toasty down there. You'll be gator bait.
I thought it was like November. Yeah, I didn't bathe.
It is, but I mean, it'll be 80% humidity down there in November.
Yeah, I actually jumped in Florida. Come to think of it.
Nah, I'm good on that. I
I
don't like that tannic water. I don't trust.
Yeah,
I don't trust getting in it, man. You can't see what's underneath you.
Okay. Chris Metcalf, I guess, is the one that asked that question. Justin, he said you guys fished together on Fort Gibson.
Yes,
just slinging a spinnerbait down there.
Yep, that's something I didn't catch on to in time. Actually, on that tournament, I didn't catch a limit and finished, I think, 5th, and it was only 3 fish or 4 fish. I don't remember now. But at the end of the day, after time had expired, I caught an 18-incher swimming a jig. I finally figured something out, but it was too late. So it's just, I don't know. It's just sometimes you pick up the right thing and catch one early and you have some confidence in it. But I just never found anything there. Wish I would have tried it.
That's something I'm kind of guilty of, like especially if there's a chatterbait bite. Like I'll pound. I'm real bad about fishing like one area into the ground. But like if I throw a chatterbait all day, I don't ever think to switch gears and switch to like a swim jig or something. You know, something with a little less vibration, a little different look, and I'd probably put more fish in the boat. I need to do that. I need to start making myself do that.
I know.
Someone kidnapping Russ.
Got my food.
Someone kidnapping Russ.
Adam.
What's up, Riser? Hey.
Bonus
cameo appearance.
Adam, can you answer a question real quick?
Adam, can you answer a question real quick?
Yeah, what's up?
Have you ever bathed at the same time as Russ at the lake?
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
No, I mean, he didn't.
Right.
No, hold on. Say that sounded, but he didn't want to know the question.
They're real.
Okay.
They're real close. It's fine. It's
all right.
It's a Tennessee thing. You wouldn't understand.
All right. Sorry, Russ. It was too easy.
Bro, can you get my back? Ooh, okay. All right. Yeah. That's it. We're done for the night, Jeff. I'm pulling the plug on this. We're done.
Thanks.
Good time.
Let's see. Any more questions from the crowd out there? There's one more question, and we'll let you guys get out of here pretty soon. So, pushing up against the hour. Sean Accord asks Russ, "What's your favorite pre-fishing bait, and how do you know the area that you want to choose on game day? How do you lock in on the area?"
It's just a lot of factors. Just how much fishing pressure I think there's going to be in an area, or what the weather's doing. I mean, there's a lot of factors goes into it. I guess it just. I mean, more times than not, I end up fishing the area that I have the best luck pre-fishing. But there are times where I have a really, let's say the weather's really warm and I crush them one day, and all of a sudden a big cold front comes, and I know it's going to shut that spot off. Where I'll then just have to go wing it, or go to an area where, where I think they could be moving up to. So it's hard to really, a lot of it's just guessing too. You just got to go with your instinct and let it tell you what you think the right move is. But favorite pre-fishing bait, again, depends on where I'm at, but anywhere I can, I like to cover a lot of water when I pre-fish. Sometimes I'm not even casting, I'm just kind of looking. Either looking visually for like signs of bait, or things that look good, or using my electronics. And then just once I find an area that I think has a good concentration of fish, then I'll either break down that area, or sometimes I'll come back. If I find it early in the tournament, I'll come back a couple days later, like right before the tournament, and really try to break it down and kind of find all the sweet spots and find backup, multiple patterns I could fish in an area. So yeah. Does that answer that?
Yeah, sure does.
Sure. You go eat your dinner, Russ. Thank you for coming on. Congratulations yet again. Do it one more time this weekend.
Thanks you. I'm going to try.
Yeah, man. I'm sure
guys. Appreciate it.
I'm sure we'll have you on again. And Justin, I know this won't be the last time for you either, buddy. Thanks for repping Arkansas so well, and then doing good on Broken Bow, man. It was exciting to watch. Like I said, hopefully we can have you both back after you do the same thing on Fort.
Yeah, hope so.
Yeah. Justin, I'll see you at Dardanelle.
Hopefully.
Boom.
See you guys.
Dardanelle. All right, y'all. Hey, special shout out to the YouTube folks tonight, because we had a larger than usual audience on YouTube. So thank y'all on YouTube for watching. And of course, everybody on Facebook. Good times.
See y'all next Monday.